Hi everybody. We are starting the webinar. The name of webinar, as you probably know, is how to use chess engines properly. I hope all of you have watched my introduction video so that I won't have to go through that material again. But to refresh your memory, I would like to remind you what goals do I see of my webinar right now. So I have 4 goals that I would like to teach you and share with you. The first one is to teach technical details of how to use engines correctly, using all the cores of your computer, pay attention to the depth of the analysis. I will show you many examples where the depth is very important. And so I would tell you how many lines I think the computer should consider, in my opinion, and I would want you to pay attention to the speed of calculation of the computer, which is measured in kilonodes per second. So we'll take a look at that. So these are technical details. There are much more of those, but if you know all I tell you, that should be enough already. So the second goal is I don't want you to put absolute trust into everything engines are saying. I will show you some positions where they blunder, they don't see a win, and so that you will not be making a god out of an engine. Engines are still bad. There are still many fields for improvement, despite the fact that computers become with every day more and more powerful. Still, the algorithm of searching for the best move and for consider which moves the computer should consider and which not is by far not developed perfectly. So my third goal is to show you some positions which computers get completely wrong. I mean evaluation-wise. So for example, I would show you the positions which they evaluate as 0.00, and they are actually lost for one of the sides. So, or I would show you positions where they give huge advantage to one of the side, like 2-3 pawns up, and it's a draw. So I would show you those positions and make sure that you, in those positions, you listen to your mind, to your head, to your thoughts rather than a computer. And my fourth goal is I have 2 examples of one is my own game. Unfortunately, I was beaten very badly. And second game which I witnessed live, where humans calculate better than computer. Believe it or not, it is still possible. And one of the games that I want you to show is the guy with ELO less than 2400 finds a combination which computers do not see. Well, I was waiting for a while and they did not see, but once I show them the combination, they agree that it is close to winning. So let us start with some technical details. For them, I chosen just a starting position. So now I'm gonna press Short K, Control K, and upload, let's say, and by the way, I forgot to mention, I'm going to use 3 engines, Houdini 4 Pro, Komodo 8, and Stockfish 5. They are 3 top engines now in the world, Stockfish being an official world champion, and I would show you that they are not as good as you might think. So my goal is to shake your trust in the engines and, use your own head instead in some cases. So I'm gonna upload Houdini now, and I'm gonna pause it because we don't need to see the analysis of the beginning position. So what I want you to pay attention in this menu. So first is number of cores of your computer, which in this case Houdini is using. You can see it uses 4 CPUs. 4 CPUs of my computer, but my computer actually has 8. So once I click on it, I'm using ChessBase 12, but in other programs I believe it's more or less the same. So I can choose how many CPUs I want him to make use of, and basically if you want to have a quality analysis, you should use all the power of your computer. So that would be CPUs. So Houdini captures, I don't know, 4, maybe half. I'm not sure about the system. So, but you should pay attention to number of cores it is using. It is extremely relevant to the speed of the analysis. So now the second thing I want you to pay attention to is this field, 2,482 kilonodes per second. Basically, this is a speed of calculation. It means that it is evaluating 2.4 millions of positions per second. 2,000 of kilonodes per second means almost 2.5 millions of positions Houdini is evaluating per second. And of course, the bigger the number, the faster the engine is thinking and the better it is. So if you're using all CPUs, this number should increase. So the third thing I want you to pay attention to is the depth. The depth of the analysis. Now it is 18. What does it mean? Basically it means how many moves ahead it is calculating, but not exactly moves. It is measured in plies. 1 ply is half of a move. So depth 18, it means that white made 9 moves and black made 9 moves. So so if white makes 1 move and black makes another move, this would be depth 2. So depth 18 is 9 moves ahead. It is calculating, and I really want you to pay attention to this first number. The second number, it's not really important right now. The first number is important because for each engine there are some number under which I wouldn't recommend you to listen to him. So this is depth. And the last thing I want you to, technical thing I want you to pay attention to is number of lines the engine is considering. So I personally choose 3 lines for him to consider, because if you use too many lines, I can maybe give you an example. I would keep it going and I would increase number of lines to some 8 amount. The depth, the speed of the analysis then drops, and it really takes much more time for him to get to a decent depth quickly. So I don't recommend using too many lines, because in order to get a quality analysis, you should wait like really long. So I'm going to stop right now. So too many lines is not good, because it would take ages before you get to a decent depth to start believing what engine says. But also fewer lines are also not good. If you consider only 1 line, that is way too low. Their chess is a beautiful game with so many possibilities for each side. There cannot be like the only solution in every position, right? So I do not recommend 1 line. 2 is more or less okay. I personally prefer 3, because very often not in this position, the third line is knight c3 for white, but we just joke on the computers, you know. Third best move is not even e4, it's knight c3. That's frankly funny. So, but in many positions, the third line is very interesting, so so I use 3 lines. And there are much more technical details, even I'm not aware of all of them. But basically, if you want a quality analysis, you just use all the cores of your computer, pay attention to the speed of the analysis, number of lines, and the depth. And that would be, I think, all technical details I want to share with you. And now we go to chess again. So I think the technical part is over. Now we take a look at the positions which engines do not understand. This way I would prove you maybe a little bit, so they might be wrong and a lot. As you may recall from introduction video, knight a4 is a big mistake in this position. So what I wanted to do is to use another engine. Stockfish now is the strongest engine in the world, though it has many flaws. At the end, I will tell you what, in my opinion, which are the pluses and minuses, advantages and disadvantages of every engine. So once I upload Stockfish, it uses only one CPU, as you can see. Only one CPU, and that's way too slow. The speed of the analysis is only 800. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to give him at least 4, so that he will. I don't want to overwhelm my computer. So 4 CPUs he's using, decent speeds, almost 3 million positions per second. Depth 26. It is still considering knight a4 to be a good move. I think it starts around depth 30. Stockfish starts to realize that knight a4 is losing. So but it heavily depends on the machine you are working on the number of CPUs, on programs you have installed. So it does not work the same on all computers. So you are free to use Stockfish on this position and take a look. It already prefers 0.2 knight a4. So it's just blunder on depth 29. So you should wait at least to depth 30 to believe in Stockfish. And for Cómo, the third best engine in the world, it's also automatically uses only one CPU, which is way too small. So every time this is a little bit annoying. Every time you force your engine to calculate, every time you have to say, no, I have more CPUs for you to use. Houdini captures some of them right away, but Stockfish and Cómo have this drawback. It works only on one unless you force him to use more. So Cómo depth 17, it's still blundering. So once we're done with the seminar, with the webinar, you can turn on or maybe you're doing it right away. You can check for each engine you have. Oh, now depth 19, it's spotted that knight a4 is a mistake. So I'm going to close it right now. So this could be like partially a test position for an engine, at which depth it is still proposing knight a4. So, but you are probably wondering, how on earth white is making a draw after knight a4 and rook b2? All the engines give huge advantage for black. I used Houdini previous time. I'm going to use Stockfish now. And again, I'm going to give him, I'll give him 8 CPUs to use. It gives huge advantage for black. It's already -2, -2.5, and it will be increasing. And you would probably think that white is losing here during your, post-game analysis, right? Usually many people use right after the game, just turn on the engine and look at the game. Oh my God, -2, I was lost. But it's not always the case. So the key to the draw in this position is the position on the king side. So knight takes b2 is forced, c3, rook takes b6 is necessary, c4. And now there are 2 ways to make a draw here. All of them involve black promoting the queen, white losing the knight but winning the a7 pawn and returning with the rook. So for example, knight takes c4, c2, the queen is about to appear, the rook is hanging. So now rook goes to a6, c1 queen, king h2, the knight is lost, and rook a7. And I'm going to turn on the engine one more time. Let's say, actually it doesn't matter, any engine I'm using. So, okay, maybe Komodo is a little bit better for this position. I will tell you later why it evaluates the queen more properly. But still, -2 is a huge advantage for black. For example, Houdini gives much bigger evaluation, -3.5. Normally you stop the analysis and say, oh no, I was lost. This is a draw. I'm going to turn off the engine right now, and we will look at this position closer. So it is black to move. Black needs to make progress somehow. What is white going to do? White is going to return with the rook to f3. Of course, not through f7, which is controlled now, but through any other maneuver, maybe let's say through b7 to b3 to g3. Sorry, not to g3, of course, g3 would be pinned. Basically, the rook will return to f3. You cannot really avoid it. There are so many ways of doing that the rook's going to go to f3. I'm going to use a different variation because I looked further there. So another variation, c4, rook b4 also leads to similar position, a5, and now knight takes c4, c2, rook a4, c1 queen, king h2, queen c2, wins the knight, and now white plays rook f5. Of course, it makes sense to win the pawn on a2, and now rook goes back to f3. And now I want you to look at this position without the engine and think, how can black win this position? The computers do not understand the term to make progress. They can understand the tactics, the attacks, the defense, to calculate the material. You know, computers are very happy. I have a queen, you have only a rook. I am 3 pawns upper than you, or 4 or more, I don't know. So, but they do not think schematically, they don't think using plans, almost never. So what is the plan for black? How can you improve this position? What white is going to do, I'm gonna just go with the king back and forth. If you, for example, so I'm just standing. If you put your queen on b1, let's say, and don't let me go, I'm just gonna find a square for a rook, either down the f file or the third rank. There's always be a square to not lose the rook, and my next move I just go back to f3. So basically white is waiting. What can black do in this position? What could be black's plan? Black needs to advance his king, right? So I suppose you moved your king somewhere very close. Okay, I'm still standing. What else can you do? You can play g5. Very good, I'm still standing. The only reasonable plan for a win for black is to play g5 followed by g4. But I hope many of you know that after these two pawns get exchanged, this is a theoretical draw. I'm still going to be standing. I just get even one more square for my rook on h3. This is just a fortress. This is a draw, which is actually another terra incognita for the engines. They can blunder. They do not understand the fortresses. We will take a closer look at number of other fortresses a little bit later. So I'm going to stop with this position right here. But they are very bad at fortresses. I'm going to, just for you to believe that I'm not lying, take a look at the evaluation. Almost -4 from the strongest chess engine, I guess, ever. -4 for black, and look what it's doing. Queen e2, queen d1, just moving around, being happy with having extra queen. But that is just a draw. We will look at some other fortresses later. And now I want to show you another position, which actually I invented myself. One more second. Yes, yep, there it is. So this is the position I came up with. Before using any engines, I would ask you to think a little bit about the position. And it is white to move, but it's not very relevant right now. And I want you to think about the position. Who do you think is better? Is it equal? Is white winning? Is black winning? What do you think is going on right here? I want you to spend a couple of minutes just thinking about this position while I look at the questions you have for me. So for those who think this position is equal, I want you to type equality in the chat room so that I can see. For those who think that white is winning here, please type plus. For those who think that black is winning here, I want you to type minus. Or maybe you can not type, just write it down and keep it in mind. So it's very actually complicated position. I gave it to a couple of grandmasters. It's not easy to understand what is going on. So don't be ashamed to not guess. So basically we are training our intuition. So I can see one plus, one minus, others thinking it's equal. So you can see your thoughts are changing to three different options here actually. So what can we see in this position? I can see the question, how should one can ensure the evaluation value by engine is correct or not? Unless it's a table-based position which is already known, or unless it's just quick checkmate or something, you should use your own head instead. Normally you should, before listening to the engine, you should think on your own. How would I evaluate this position? What do I think who is better? And only then you turn on the engine. There are many positions where they evaluate them absolutely incorrect. So I see one plus, one minus, the rest is thinking the position is equal. So what we can see in this position, white is 3 pawns up, but they are quite restricted by a bishop. White's king is holding one passed pawn, the bishop is holding another passed pawn. Actually the position seems to be equal. And now I'm going to turn on any engine you like. Let's say Houdini 4. I'm gonna give him 8 CPUs for the analysis. It gives, you can see the evaluation, 0.6 in white's favor. So far depth is 26. Normally, what would you think about this position? Well, white is 3 pawns up, but the evaluation is not that big. I don't see how white can make progress. I guess the computer is counting the pawn. I guess the position is equal, right? That could be your thinking. I'm gonna turn on Stockfish now, just for I choose the position where all engines are have similar thoughts. Okay, Stockfish is giving 0.00. And it says it's a draw. I can see another question. Is the engine's analysis good to study openings, or should we trust books only? In the openings, engines turn off the engines. For example, Fritz used to evaluate Sicilian like e4, c5, knight f3, already like 0.7 in white's favor. So books, and after the opening, maybe you can start using engines. So Stockfish gives 0.00. Oh, I can see one more minus for black. Okay. And lastly, I'm going to use Komodo. So Houdini prefers white. Okay, I'm going to give Komodo more cores for him to faster realize what's going on. And two other engines give something around equality. So now I'm going to turn off the engine. And we are going to analyze this position without an engine, using our own head. I can see another question. Is engine rating and human rating equal? If not, what's the difference? To be honest, I'm not sure how exactly they calculate the engine's rating, but since Magnus Carlsen is almost 2900 and many chess engines would beat him, I don't doubt that they play in at like 3200, 3100. But I'm not entirely sure how they are calculating their ratings. So maybe more or less they could, but basically even any engine with 2700 rating would beat Strong Grandmaster because they are still good. You know, everyone knows engines are so good that they would beat human now. But that's why we are having this webinar to show you that they are not as good as you might think in many situations. So now let's take a look at this position one more time. So black's bishop is splendid, right? It's controlling all the pawns. The moment the pawn moves, it will get captured and white won't make any progress. And it is holding a very strong, powerful passed pawn, which should be guarded. Should be guarded by the king. So the king cannot really go anywhere. He needs to guard the pawn. The bishop on a1 needs to stay where it is, just controlling the a1 square. If white could have switched the king and the bishop, that would be an easy draw. You know, if we can switch the king and the bishop in this position, that would be the end of it, because the a1 square is a dark one, and even if white loses the bishop for this pawn, nothing to worry about. So let me ask you this: can white make a progress here? Take 1 minute and just for yourself, you don't even need to write it into the chat. Can white make progress here? The answer is no. The moment the pawn moves, it's being taken by the bishop. No progress at all, you're right. So white cannot move. White can only stand where they are, just waiting for a draw proposal, right? So white cannot make any progress. It means white is in no way better. The best white can get is a draw if black cannot make any progress. Now let's take a look at black's position. The bishop cannot really move, right? It can only move down the big diagonal, right? Back and forth, because its job is very important, controlling all the pawns and the passed pawn. The a2 pawn, of course, cannot move, but we have one guy that is doing absolutely nothing. That's the king on g8. If we imagine this king somehow jumping to b1, that would be the end of it. We would promote the pawn, win the bishop with the king, and then go back to the king side, and the king just goes to f3, and white is in Zugzwang, black is winning. I hope you can see that. So if for some magic reason the king can penetrate white's camp, black is the one to win here. So because white still cannot make any progress, is the bishop alive or not? White is still just going back and forth with the king or sacrificing all his pawns. That's all white can do. So now let us think, can the king get through this big diagonal. That's actually the main problem. You cannot go through e4 because white would win the pawn, right? That's we are really putting much hope in this pawn on g2. So black cannot stand in front of the bishop, right? So, but it seems that black cannot do anything here. How can he penetrate with the king without crossing big diagonal? It looks like no, and it's a draw. But let me give you an example. White is just making a move, and black is moving his king, and now we have a problem, right? So I want to refresh your memory. Now we realize that white cannot possibly win here, right? Only black is playing for a win. The question is, can king cross the big diagonal? The moment it crosses big diagonal, the game is over. So now black cannot play king d5, right? We need that pawn on g2. If we move our bishop to e4 to stand in front of the king, there's nobody. King still cannot go to d5 because the pawn gets promoted. But there is actually a fairly simple solution. Black plays bishop c6, and I want you again use the chat to tell me. Can you now maybe see a way for the king to penetrate? Now when the bishop is exactly. Okay, I have one answer. I guess that is enough. The answer is now there is a b7 square, and the king can go just like this, like this. White still is doing nothing. White still is waiting for the inevitable death, actually. King comes via b7. White is still doing nothing. King comes here. We are winning the bishop. We can collect all the pawns if we want, but we basically don't need them. The bishop is guarding them. And we go to the king side. White is in Zugzwang. King is just approaching to f2, promoting the king, the pawn. That's it. You don't need, to calculate variations in this game. You just think schematically. Just where do I need my king? Where do I need my bishop? The computers cannot do that. They do not have this pattern of thinking schematically, and so when you're looking for a plan in any position, in this endgame or after the opening, the computer will be no help to you at all. They are very strong at attacking, like tactics and grabbing pieces and checkmating the king. But when it comes to a plan, just maneuvering, I want this piece to be there, I want this piece to be improved this way, they are not good at those. They might see some maneuvers, like 2-3 move maneuvers, just improving some bad piece, but that's as far as they can get. Just showing you the variation. This is the variation. The king is coming. The game is over. Now let me show you how does the computer react to when I show him this line. Now we can laugh at their evaluations. So 0.00, it does not see the way of improvement for black. I'm going to make a few more moves. 0.00. Okay, I'm putting my bishop on c6. Can the engine see it? No, it cannot. I move my king, still 0-0. I move my king, I'm already behind the pawns. Still 0-0. King is coming, everyone sees that black is winning now, but not the computers. The depth is 43. It calculates 22 moves ahead. For some, to be honest, I don't know why it does not see the black king coming. Only when now it realizes. only when the king is already on c4. And says, yes, yes, I was wrong. I was losing. And now when we start going back, by the way, that's another thing with the analysis. If you start going back with the moves, it already remembers what he had seen. But just a second ago, the evaluation was 0-0. Now it's -5. Black is winning -8, etc., etc. Same story with other engines. They have some problem with this. I'm not sure what it is, but it's very good example of how you cannot believe into computer evaluation in the end game or in the position fortress type positions. You cannot listen to the engines in this position. I'm going to use one more engine just so that you wouldn't think that this is only stockfish, a bad fish. Houdini is also not good, so it actually prefers white. I'm going to move few moves ahead. Still gives half a pawn in white's favor. Okay, now it says equality. Still, it cannot see that the king is coming. I have no idea why is that, but it should really shake your trust in the computer evaluation. If I set you up this position, all of you, I guess, would solve, yes, black is winning here, but not the best engines in the world. Now he's realizing. Just bishop. Still no, still gives 0-0. So they are useless in these sort of positions. So be very careful while using engines in endgames and in the positions which involve like a strategic thinking, executing some plan. They are not good at those. This is a good example. So now I want to show you another position, actually a theoretical position, which is actually well known. So this is Sveshnikov variation. D6, C4, the opening is not very relevant here, and F5. There is a line like that. And there is a line bishop d3 and f4. And white is playing g3, and black is sacrificing this pawn and castling, hoping for good development. Bishop g3 and knight g4. This is the key position. It's a well-known theoretical position, especially for those who play this line. Actually, I almost got into trouble because of an engine in this line. I was preparing against one grandmaster who plays this line very often, and I thought, hey, take a look. I'm just gonna turn on Houdini and show you his evaluation. It likes white's position a lot. 0.5 in white's favor after, okay, now it has found. I'm going to use another engine. In this position, actually Houdini is not that bad. I'm going to use Stockfish. Stockfish is really happy with white's position here. And it gives, like, take a look, 0.7 in white's favor after bishop e2. Bishop e2, very good move. Okay, f4, bishop e2, 0.7. The depth is 20. It says there are other good moves here for white. So now I'm going to turn off the engine and show you the well-known first line. Bishop e2 is a mistake because black has the following combination. Knight takes f2, queen d5 check. The idea of knight f2 is to, if bishop takes f2, rook takes f2, and bishop h4 check, and white's king might be in trouble. So the line goes like this. Queen d5, queen is helping the king, and now bishop take f2, but black still goes, huge important move. Knight goes to b4. We need to distract that queen. That is well-known theoretical position. Queen goes to h5, closer to the king. Rook takes f2, king takes f2. Believe it or not, white is lost here. White is rook up. Almost all of his pieces are developed. White is lost here. And the line goes like this. Bishop h4. King goes to g2. It looks quite safe there. G6, important move. We need to freeze a G5 square for the queen. The only square for the queen is F3 because queen H6 is met with bishop G5, and unfortunately the queen is lost. No squares available. Queen F3, queen G5 check, king F1. Now it's a little bit scary, you know, the king, the queen on one row. Bishop H3, a blow. Queen takes F3. Now white is rook and piece up. Rook F8, last piece enters the attack. Bishop F3, the only move. Queen penetrates, attacking the bishop. Queen takes H4. And believe it or not, black should not take on F3. Black should include last piece in the game. And it's checkmate in 5, I think. This position is checkmate in 5. This is a well-known theory. Okay, in 7. This is checkmate. It's a beautiful position. I really like this example. You can count all white's pieces. White is rook and 2 pieces up. But white is checkmated in 7 moves. And this line is perfectly forced starting from king takes F2. Now I'm gonna, it's a very complicated combination. I'm not saying that human being can find it during the board. In the analysis, for sure, but during the board, no chances. But it's a well-known line, and people just know it, the one who plays those lines. Now let's take a look what computer is suggesting. But computers should be very good at calculating tactics. I guess you can agree about that with me here. Computers are very good at checkmating, finding attacks, grabbing pieces, you know, they are really good at calculating. There are still problems in positional play, but at least in calculating they should be very good. I'm going to use Stockfish now. Give him 4 CPUs. Okay, maybe the reason is that I'm going to turn it off. Sometimes it realizes that I was just looking this variation. I won't help Stockfish right now. I'm going to play bishop e2. So Stockfish sees knight f2, but it gives 0.00. Knight takes f2, queen d5, king h8. But now Stockfish is Stockfish is. Okay, I just wanted to give a compliment to Stockfish, but it gives bishop f2, which is losing. Rook f1 is the last chance to hold this position. Now take a look. Bishop takes f2, the first line, the depth is 24, it's increasing. Oh, now it thinks it's a draw. We move a little bit forward. Knight b4. Now it realizes queen h5 is the only move. Okay, but still a draw, right? Rook takes f2. It says, yes, for sure, king f2 is the only move, and it's a draw. Bishop h4 check. It says, it doesn't matter where I move. King g2. It still says it's a draw. I give him some time, it will realize it. It says g6, and you have a perpetual. Queen f3, queen g5, and only now it spots that it is losing. It says now that queen g3 is the best move, which is obviously a desperation. And king f1, actually, it's a very beautiful variation. Rook f8, bishop f3, queen e3, queen takes h4, and just any other move is not winning, but knight d3 is checkmating. So what I want you to be aware of, computers are not even good at calculating unless you guide them. It did not see that white is winning until it was too late, right? So you really need to guide you cannot be guided by the computer while analyzing some forced line. You should be the one to guide him. You should be thinking on your own, okay, what about this move? And then propose it to him. In many cases, he would just beat you, but from time to time, you will help him a lot. So the most dangerous evaluation that computers give is 0.00. You just seen few examples when 0.00 turns out to be lost, no matter how long you give him to think. In this case, Stockfish is actually a good attacking player, attacking engine, but still it had problems seeing this line. Okay, it's not orthodox, it's just some quiet moves, knight b4, quiet move, another sacrifice, knight to d3 instead of capturing on f3. Capturing on f3 doesn't bring anything after knight d3, and the next move is rook takes f3, and black is winning. So you should be guiding the computer, rather be guided by him. You cannot say, oh yes, he's right. You should doubt every move he is proposing. And 0.00 is extremely dangerous evaluation, especially when a perpetual check is available. I would give you another example now, but with the computers, for example, some bishop takes h7 combination, queen takes queen h5 check and some combination there. In many cases, it gives 0.00, but the reason is it can only see a draw yet. So it settles for a draw until he finds a better line. But if the perpetual check is available, and computer gives 0.00, it doesn't mean it's the draw is the maximum you can hope for. You should doubt that. He just settles for a draw because he doesn't believe there could be more. But once he finds a win, he goes for it. But it may take a while before it realizes that there is more than a draw. Because usually he's lacking material when you give a perpetual, and he says, okay, draw is fine with me. But you should doubt especially 0.00 evaluation. In most cases, it means that computer does not know what is the real evaluation. 0.0, he can give 0.00 to craziest positions. Just anyone could win or lose, and he gives 0.00. In many cases, it means I don't know. I'm just speaking from my own experience. So this is a theoretical line. And now I'm going to show you another position where you should seriously doubt engines. I don't remember where did I see this position, but it's some analysis position from, I think, Ivanchuk, Van Gyu or Van Kao game. I'm not sure 100%. So I'm not gonna turn on the engine yet, because that is the problem with the engine. Usually the first thing you do, you see what engine is proposing. Because it's easier, you turn on engine and you just agree with him because he is so strong. It should be the other way around. You should look at the position yourself, maybe analyze it, maybe evaluate it, and then turn on the engine. This way, if he agrees with you, it means you're doing a good job in most cases. But if he disagrees with you, it means that you can learn. You can understand why he's not agreeing. You can argue with him for few moves and either prove him wrong, which is sometimes the case, or in most cases, the computer proves us human beings wrong. In this way, you will understand, oh yes, I did not see this one, I did not evaluate that one correctly, etc. So first, what you should do is think with your own head and only then listen to the computer. You should be guiding him, not he guiding you. So this is the position. It is black to move. And white has some attack. The bishop is hanging. So the first thing what you need to calculate, what happens if I take the bishop, right? So we are not using engines at the moment. G takes f6. I'm just going to show you some lines and then turn on the engine so that we can understand the position better before we listen to the computer. So bishop e4, threatening checkmate. Rook e8. Almost escaping. Queen h6, quiet move. And now c5 is necessary, because if you play f5, white is just coming with the rook. That's it. Game over. So, but c5 is a good move, bishop h7 and king h8, and from the distance computer thinks, okay, the f3 square is taken by the bishop, right? So the rook cannot help, and the most white is having is the perpetual check, because I'm already threatening to go bishop f8, and white has to make a perpetual. But white is just checkmating here with the following variation. Bishop f5, king g8, and rook f3 anyway. Takes, e takes f5, and quiet move king h1. White is checkmating. The last piece enters the attack. White is winning. From the distance, computers don't see these things so quickly as you might think. So they see a draw first, and they start calculating something else. But when they go back to this line again, they can realize it was winning. So this is the first line if you take the bishop. So taking the bishop is not good. Obviously, white is threatening queen g5, and if you follow up with g6, queen h6, just checkmating. So since taking the bishop is losing, the only other way is to move the rook someplace and meet queen g5 with bishop f8. So the most human answer would be, I'm not sure about the most human, but there are two moves here for black. The rook can go to e8, staying closer to the king, but the rook can go to b8 or c8, just freeing the space for the king to run away if anything happens. Only one of those moves is the only one. The rest is losing. Let's take a look at rook fb8. What happens there? White is playing bishop e4. Black has to run away because I guess g6 would be met with rook f3 and rook h3, or even f5. So king f8, according to the computer, that's the best move. White is continuing the attack with f5. Another piece is coming into attack. G takes f6, f takes e6, pawn takes e6, rook takes king e8, and the last piece comes to an attack. I'm going to turn on engine here so that you believe me, it is winning. It is winning. All black's pieces are too far away from black's king. All white's pieces are in the attack. Black is losing here. The only move in this position is rook f to e8, and the reason is that in the same line, if white plays bishop e4, king runs away, and white plays f5, which is in this case a mistake. G takes f6, f takes e6. In the previous case, white can take on f6 with the rook with the tempo. But here, rook takes e6, and that is the point. And actually, white is close to losing here. The attack is you cannot take on f6 without exchanging more pieces. White's attack is reaching the dead end. Black is doing very well. So that is the point. Normally, computers should be able to solve this, that rook f to e8 is the only move here. So I'm turning on Stockfish and giving him 4 cores to think about. Okay, it gives 0.00 to any move. At first, G takes f6, 0.0, rook b8, rook e8. It gives 0.00, it says it's a draw. Don't believe them when they give 0.00. They could be mistaken. If there is an attack, for some reason, they settle for a draw at some point. Now, to not bore you with the details, my Stockfish, okay, depth 24. I think in just a few seconds it would prefer rook f to e8. But first thought was everything is a draw. Now, just to show you that G takes f6, now it realizes it's losing. Bishop e4, rook f to e8, queen h6, c5, bishop h7, bishop f5, king g8, rook f3, checkmate. Checkmate. But from the distance it gave 0.00 for quite a while. And now once you start moving through the line, which you think is good, it starts evaluating better and better. That's why you need to guide him, you know. I would never play rook fb8 in the game. It looks so ugly, you know. I would play rook e8 unless I see a direct checkmate. And now bishop e8, it still says king f8 is okay. But once I play f5, I'll give him a few more seconds to realize. Okay, now the evaluation increasing, plus 1 already, and it would be more. Black is in huge trouble here, if not losing. G takes f6, f takes e6, rook check, king e8, rook a to e1, and 2 pawns up and more. White is winning. So it realized that rook f to e8 is the only move, only on depth like 24 on 25. That's one point. Just pay attention to the depths. For example, Houdini. I think Houdini. Cómo actually is not that good at calculating. For calculation, I prefer Houdini or Stockfish. Take a look. Houdini is the same. First impression, everything is a draw, and one might be tempted to think that way, but actually black is in huge trouble in this position. Black is facing big problems. G takes f6 just loses right away. I think now he's going to realize that rook f e8 is the only chance to survive. But so first thing, pay attention to the depths. Depth 18, it's gonna realize now. I remember. I think rook f to e8 is the only move. But secondly, you should guide the computer. Okay, now take a look at depth 18. Realize g takes f6 is completely losing. So actually, after rook f e8, black is also in trouble. Bishop e4, king f8. White's not gonna play f5. White can play bishop e5. The pawn on h7 is hanging. h6 is the only move. And now, for example, g4 is worth attention, or with an idea of g5. Black is facing big problems. Very strong attack here for white. I'm not 100% sure about if black can survive or not, but at least he's not losing by force. So I'm going to turn off the engine now. So what my goal of this position is, pay attention to the depth. Don't believe it if it gives 0.00 with all the lines. It doesn't mean it's a draw. It means there's lots to be analyzed again. And you should be guiding him. You should be thinking, okay, what happens if g takes f6? And you should be proposing moves rather than pressing space and listening to whatever he is suggesting. So listening, just guiding the computer instead of being guided by it, and looking at the depths, because until some depth, they all can blunder. I'm not saying they will, but you don't want to get an analysis where you're just losing. You know, that would be a shame to have a computer analysis and lose the game because the analysis was flawed. So pay attention to the depth. For Houdini, in my experience, the least is 20. Less than 20, using 3 lines to consider, it can blunder. Stockfish gets to the depths much quicker because it has different algorithm of searching for the moves. For Stockfish, I'm recommending at least 25. That's the least you can look at. Better 30 and up. Komodo is very slow into getting into deeper into the position because it considers more moves on every move. So, but for Komodo, I think 18 could be more or less okay. Okay, and so I'm gonna share the screen with you again. So I hope you remembered that computers in calculation are not good in many cases. You should give them more time. You should help them. You should guide them. You cannot blindly listening to what they are suggesting. Another flaw that I have noticed in the engines, they calculate everything using pawns. Plus 2.5 means it thinks that you are 2.5 pawns up. So they measure everything in pawns, and in most engines, then normally what I hope most of you were taught while being a child, the knight costs like 3 pawns, the bishop 3.5, depending, rook is 5 pawns, and queen, normally we were taught, like at least I was taught it like about 9 pawns. So engines overestimate the queen. Now let's take a look at this position. It's a starting position where I took away the bishops and the knight for white and the queen for black. So basically what do we have? Black has 2 bishops and a knight per queen. I sincerely hope that many of you know that normally 3 pieces are stronger than the queen. In most cases, 3 pieces are stronger than the queen. So exceptions are if there is attack on the king. If the king is weak, the queen is extremely strong. Exception is if you have like many weaknesses to protect, because the queen can attack like 3 of them at once. But if everything is more or less okay in your position, if your pieces are coordinated, if your king is safe, 3 pieces are stronger than the queen. Just 2 pieces can attack a pawn and the queen cannot do anything about it. And you've got many pieces to protect all your pawns. So 3 pieces are better than a queen. So the correct evaluation of this position is black is better. Because black has no weaknesses, right? Black haven't screwed things up yet. Black is gonna develop his pieces castle short and have 3 pieces with for the queen for free. Normally you should have queen and a pawn and 2 pawns, and even that could be not enough, because if 3 pieces can coordinate, they can eat all the extra pawns that you have. So human correct evaluation of this position is black is better. And I'm not saying that human will beat computer here with black, but if you put one computer against another computer in this position, I'm pretty sure black would score 100%. But evaluation of Houdini is 0.2 is in white's favor. But once you start making moves, the evaluation decreases. But at this point, it says white is better, 0.2. Stockfish is giving something around 0.00. I'm going to give him more CPUs to go faster. I checked this position earlier. It gives 0.00, which is also incorrect evaluation. The correct evaluation is black is better, and the only engine that realizes it is Cómo. So I'm going to give him 4 cores, let's say. It gives minus 0.434, and the evaluation increases once you start making moves. Because for now, it cannot see that pieces coordinate and can eat all white pawns. It sees, it can calculate, okay, I have the queen, and being happy about it. So my point about the engines on this position. I'm going to stop the engine right here. Already half a pawn in black's favor, and that is correct evaluation. So what I want you to remember about, this is not end yet, but a little summary. Stockfish, Cómo, and Houdini. Stockfish, in my opinion, it is very good at attacking and calculating. If Stockfish gets in, if you have a position to analyze where one of the sides has initiative, I think you should use Stockfish. It is really good at attacking and activating pieces and everything. So this is a bright side of Stockfish. On the other hand, the evaluation of Stockfish is in many cases too optimistic. I'm going to close it. So, for example, I was following, there was a match between Cómo and Stockfish, where they played on powerful computer each other, unofficial world championship last year. So, in one of the positions, Stockfish on depths like around 50 gave evaluation minus 1.7. In black's favor, Stockfish was black. Indeed, the position was very good. The position was open, Stockfish had extra pawn and 2 bishops. Huge advantage. Minus 1.7 in a position where they evaluated correctly. You know, it was now no tricky problems like I showed you that. So 2 bishops and extra pawn, but still some not a very normal position. Usually computer games are freaky to me. You know, people don't play like that. They have uncoordinated pieces and everything. And Stockfish did not win it. It had 2 bishops and a pawn. Minus 1.7 according to Stockfish. Stockfish made the best moves according to him and did not win the position against the Cómo. Cómo gave us like minus 0.6 or 0.7 for black. It doesn't mean that the evaluation was not correct. The evaluation was correct. Black is much better, but it was way too optimistic. It was not minus 1.7. It minus 1 tops, you know. So Stockfish is way too optimistic in the evaluation of the position. If he likes the position, it would give big advantage right away. So very good at attacking, but not good at evaluating the position. I think you should multiply Stockfish evaluation by 0.6, 0.7, you know. It's too optimistic. If it likes the position, it gives like huge advantage. So this is about Stockfish. Now Cómo. Cómo, in my opinion, is good at positional play. It can maneuver better than, in my opinion, better than other engines. It can find a way of improving some positions which other engines do not consider that well. It's really good at maneuvering and positional play, Cómo, but it's not good at tactics and activity. At least not as good as, in my opinion, Stockfish is. So if you have a quiet positional game, maybe you should use Cómo if you have ability to choose. If you have active play, use Stockfish. And what I like about Cómo is it evaluates the queen correctly. This position being an example. Half a pawn in black's favor, which in my opinion is a correct evaluation of this one. So Cómo calculates worse, but positional play and evaluating the queen is correct. And the Houdini, I did not see any like bad things like with Stockfish, overestimating the position, but also I did not see any bad things like Cómo not being able to calculate tactics as well. So in my opinion, Houdini is somewhere in the middle between those two engines. It calculates good, it maneuvers well, but it evaluates the queen incorrectly. So what I want you to know about the queen, so do not listen blindly to what computers are saying about the positions with not standard material on the board, like this one. If you have a queen sacrifice, you'd better use your own head rather than listening to Stockfish or any other engine. They really like the queen even too much. So if not standard material, some, I don't know, 3 pieces for 2 rooks, that's extremely complicated position. Or 3 pieces for a queen, computers do not evaluate them well unless you're using Cómo. So if not standard material, their moves probably would be good ones, but the evaluation might be incorrect. Okay. And a few more positions I want to show to you is endgames. Endgames are in my opinion, like terra incognita for the engines. So this is the position. It doesn't matter whose move is it. In this case, it is white to move. This is a known theoretical draw. It's actually even in table base. You can check it through table base. This position is drawn. So even though white has doubled pawns, black has Philidor position, which can transpose to other ones. This is a draw, and if you know how to do a draw, here you will do it against any engine. So, but if we turn on, let's say, Stockfish, and ask him to evaluate this position, take a look what's going on. it says white is completely winning. 2.22, 2.22, depth 32. Huge advantage for white, though it's a theoretical draw. So this is one point is Stockfish is way too optimistic when he likes his position. You cannot evaluate it in more than 2 pawns. So, and secondly, if you're not using table bases, 6 pieces table bases, they can evaluate the position like very badly. Houdini in this position is better, is 1.6, but still it thinks white is winning. And Komodo, it's something the same, around 2 pawns. So they are completely wrong here. This is a theoretical draw. White is not winning here. So why am I focusing on this? You can check this position even online in table basis. My point is, very often in some rook endgame, they can calculate some line like 10 moves ahead, and at the end, the computer will get this position. And in order for you to choose the first move, he would say, you are winning, being this position the final one. It means that you have to be very careful about listening to the computer in the endgames. They can have at the end of a variation some well-known draw, but since it is not evaluating it correctly, you would be thinking, oh no, that rook endgame was winning for me, here's the line. But if you get to the end of the line, it could end in this position or in this position. Take a look at this position. I hope most of you know that it's a theoretical draw. So the pawn is on 7th rank, the rook cannot move because I will win the pawn, and white cannot make progress on the king side. All white can do is just move the pawn closer. Nothing's going on. It's a theoretical draw. Now, Stockfish. Take a look at the evaluation of Stockfish of this position. +4. It's like incredibly wrong. You know, it's incredibly wrong evaluation. Mark Dvoretsky would laugh at this evaluation with his books. You know, my +4. How? Where did it get 4 pawns extra? I have no idea. So Stockfish, very bad. Houdini, not as bad, but 2.6 pawns as well. Komodo, same story, 2.7. So these positions, rook endgames, fortress type positions, they are terra incognita. So if you want to use your engine for analysis of the endgame, my recommendation is go through with the line till the end. Maybe in the end they have this position. And maybe that's the reason it is so happy about the evaluation. Maybe it's still a draw. So if in rook endgame, if you're watching some game of Top Grandmaster and suddenly Stockfish or whatever engine is analyzing for you on small depths, by the way, I don't know, website chessbomb.com, the Stockfish is analyzing there and it gets like 21, 22 depths tops. I showed you many examples where 25 at blunders, 28. On that side, it goes up to 21, 22, and people judge on the game on how the evaluation of Stockfish changes. You cannot do that. You should go through with the line. Use your own head. Look through the line it is proposing. Maybe at the end it is completely wrong. So be very careful when using engines in the endgame. Either use table bases or your own head, and better if you use it all of it at once. So another position, it's partially a joke. I want to take a look at the position and give me the evaluation. Plus if white is winning, equality if it's a draw. Okay, you can just think in your head. I think like 10-15 seconds looking at this position should be enough to realize that it's a dead draw. White cannot make any progress. Black's gonna just move his bishop down this diagonal back and forth, and the king would be just standing in front of those quadrupled pawns. It's a dead draw. No chances whatsoever for a win. You know what the evaluation of Stockfish here is? I'll show you. 3 pawns up. 3 pawns up and being very happy in this position. I'm surprised it doesn't give like 6 pawns. Maybe it's because they are doubled and quadrupled. Any other engine you turn on, table bases won't help you here. There are too many pieces on the board. So just using your own head is good. More than 3 pawns from Houdini, and Komodo, it's more than 3 pawns, 3.5, stuff like that. And this is a clear draw. Any of you would make a draw against any engine. Just go back and forth with the bishop. That's it. That's just a draw. So fortresses are terra incognita for the engines. Another example. This is a well-known theoretical fortress. Actually, white cannot make any progress. Black's gonna move back and forth his rook on g-file or the king. That's it. At first glance, it may seem it's winning for white, but it's actually not. It is a draw. Rook is standing on g5, and there's always would be a square down the g-file not to get checkmated. It is, you can check it via table base. It is a well-known theoretical draw. Stockfish plus 4. Stockfish plus 4. Houdini plus 3.5. Huge advantage. I was pleasantly surprised by Komodo's evaluation. The reason is it does not evaluate queen as much as those guys do. Only plus 1.6. That's closer. Still, it should be 0.00, but still it is not as crazy as other engines are suggesting. So another example of a fortress. This fortress. It is very rare, but it is a fortress. Bishop is controlling the knight is controlling these squares, the bishop is controlling these squares. All these squares make a wall through which black's king cannot penetrate, and white will always have either a move with the king or with the bishop back and forth. It's an easy draw, it's a well-known easy draw, though a very rare one. But the engines, if they are not connected to table bases, huge advantage gives for black. Maybe Komodo is not that bad here. Oh yes, Komodo is excellent. That's why in some positions I like Komodo more. Less than 1 pawn in black's favor. It realizes the queen is not so good here. The pieces are well coordinated. So, and one more example of a fortress. Yeah, this is kind of a joke. So I hope all of you know that if you have the h-pawn and white squared bishop and the square on h8 is the wrong one, it is a draw. And the fact that there are pawns are quadrupled doesn't change anything. Still it's a complete draw. So, Houdini realizes it. Maybe they put in this position into his knowledge that this is a draw. Stockfish knows it. Stockfish knows it, 0.00. But Komodo doesn't. So there are so many fields for chess engines to be improving. You cannot trust plus 3.4. What is that? It's a clear draw. So don't listen blindly to the engines. I'm repeating. I do hope you remember that. And the last example that I want to share with you is there are still positions in which even human beings, by far not the strongest in the world, can still calculate better than the engines. So it is white to move in this position. And this is from my game. I was playing black here against Georgian player. His surname is Kashashvili. He's almost 40 years old, less than 2400 ELO. The only adjustment I did in this position in the game, he had a pawn on b2. There's still a pawn on b2, which to this combination is absolutely irrelevant. So I'm gonna show you, let's say, stockfish. I would give him eight cores to use for the evaluation. So I had some time. I was waiting for the depth of 28, which, you know, the far the depth is, it is much harder for the computer to get deeper into the position because the number of positions to consider increases, like not linearly but exponentially. So the further you get, it is multiplied and multiplied the number of positions. So this is the evaluation of stockfish. On depth 28, it is the same. I was waiting for it hoping for stockfish to find the combination, but it didn't. You will always see this evaluation minus plus, minus 0.77 or more, because black is one pawn up, black has central passed pawn, protected passed pawn, threatening to make a fork. There's a weakness on h3. There's no attack on the king side. These knights are not good. Black is winning. That's what you would generally think. And frankly, me too. In the game, he had pawn on b2. I was not disappointed in my position at all. I thought I have a better pawn structure. He has no attack because his knights cannot come very closely. I'm having better pawn structure. I think I'm going to beat him. Take a look, -1 evaluation. The depth is already 25. On most chess websites, as I said already, it's like depth 21, 22 is tops. So normally if you see this evaluation, you think white is in huge trouble, right? But now let's take a human look at the position, how my opponent did in the game. He was sitting here for half an hour and beaten me quite badly. So I'm going to stop the engine right now. Black's king has no defenders. This usually the pawn on e5 is a sign for, I'm going to turn it off, is the sign that there might be an attack. So the king on g8 has no defenders. The pawn on e5 is taking a vital square away. White's bishop is aimed for the king. White's queen is ready to join. Don't forget about the rook being on third rank, which is very common combination in these positions. The only problem, the knights cannot participate as quickly. So normal human approach here would be, let's take a look if I can make a sec. So queen h5 just met with g6 and queen has to go back. What is human doing here? Human is calculating bishop takes h7, king takes h7, queen h5 check, and king g8, and now looks for ways to bring more pieces into the attack. Just maybe move the bishop away, followed by rook h3, and he calculated this, and he played knight g4 with no huge threat at the moment. He just brings another piece into the attack. So now white has 1, 2 pieces attacking and maybe third one on the way. Doesn't look that scary, so I wasn't taking seriously this combination. Now let's take a look. This is completely forced. Bishop takes h7, queen h5, knight g4, black to move. What happens if I now turn on the stockfish and let him think in this position? In a few seconds, it will realize that the best black can hope for is a draw. Take a look. The evaluation is already 0.00. But remember what I told you about 0.00 evaluation. It does not mean it's equal. It means that maybe he have spotted a perpetual in this position and settled for it for white. Believe it or not, white is very close to winning in this position. According to my analysis, so take a look. It proposes rook e8, rook d8, queen e8. It says anything makes a draw here. So let's take a look at queen e8 first. Suddenly it realizes it's losing. Knight h6, g takes h6, queen h6, and there's no defense against rook coming in, or another rook coming in. f5, rook f3, rook comes to g3, Stockfish already saying it's a win. So queen e8 loses. What else he's proposing? So little by little, every move could be rejected because it is not guided by a human. So what other options it is proposing? It says rook d8 I didn't even consider. It says g6. G6 is a good move. G6 is a bad move. Queen comes to h6. Rook has to move, and another knight enters the attack. Another knight enters. Now white has all of his pieces in the attack. Knight f6, and you can see the evaluation now. But it's only because it was guided by a human being. I'm not saying my opponent calculated all of it. I think he looked at this position carefully. He have seen that he is threatening either rook f3, either knight h6, or maybe f5, f6. He have seen that he has many threats. He did not see a good way for me to defend from them, and he just went for it. But computers do not do that. Computer does not see this combination. The best defense, so rook e8, another defense from the computer is refuted by f5. Okay, I didn't consider knight de5. I don't remember why. It's gonna realize. Okay, now the computer is realizing black is in huge trouble. Any capture on e5 would be met with f takes e6 and some knight h6, I think. So let's say knight c5. What is he proposing? F takes e6, f takes e6, and knight h6. G takes h6. Bishop takes h6. Take a look how many white's pieces are in the attack. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many pieces defending? None. White's gonna checkmate it. Why did computer did not see it? I don't know. But if the human being sees so many pieces in the attack, the human being can go for it. And that's what my opponent, less than 2400 player, found the combination, which is, I actually doubt that engine even on powerful computer would find it, because it's a human combination. There is no direct win at once. It's just, you can feel it's very dangerous. So another, I think the best defense for black I found in this position, and don't remember in the game he had the pawn on b2, which is definitely in white's favor. So the best defense according to my analysis is f6, knight h6 check, and taking is not an option, king h7. I rejected this line because white has a perpetual. I was still hoping for a win. I haven't realized that I should dream of a draw now. And now knight f5, king g8, knight takes g7, rook f7, the only move. Some computer line like this. I'm just going to show you the final position according to Stockfish. This is the best defense of black according to Stockfish. Take a look what white has. White has 3 pawns already for the piece. All of white's pieces are in the attack. Black's king is in huge trouble. Queen d8 seems to be the only move, and I'm pretty sure black is in big trouble after that in any case. You can, I hope you can feel that black is in big trouble now. So this is a good example of how human beings still can calculate better than a human being, and then the human being can calculate better than an engine. And the last but not the least, I think Houdini found h7 rather quickly, but all the engines either takes them too much time to find it or they don't find it at all. I think Houdini found Houdini found bishop h7 at depth 19, though you can maybe check it on your own computer when you have time for it. So Stockfish on my computer did not find its combination until the depth 28, and I was tired of waiting. And Komodo didn't find more than 22. So I can see, now I have seen the question. So, sorry, I was distracted. How can I sum up? How can I sum up? I can refresh what I think about the engines. Stockfish is very good at attacking, but evaluation is too optimistic. Komodo is good at positional play, but bad at tactics. On the other hand, Komodo evaluates the queen, in my opinion, much closer to the correct evaluation than other engines. Houdini, I did not spot any big advantages or big disadvantages, so it's in between. So you had some questions about positional advantages. I said I prefer Komodo in positional plays. So what depth I recommend? For Stockfish, at least 25. At least. Better if you wait until 30. For a Houdini, at least 20. At least that's just the bottom, the lowest bottom you can imagine. And for Komodo, the lowest bottom is 18 or 19. I would just from my experience, but I'm sure there could be more examples of them still blundering on that, but you cannot go any lower than that. Just the more the better. When engine calculate better than human, pretty much always. It's really hard to come up with these kind of exceptions like I just did. I also have one for the future record. Normally computers are way better in calculating than human beings. The exception could be if there is a position and you can see that one line is completely forced, and if it works you just win. So if you see that, so the human being in that position, what does a human being do? If it sees completely forced line and maybe it is a win, the human being just calculates it till the end without distracting on any other possible moves and calculates it till the end. Computer does not have this ability to focus on one line and get like 20 moves ahead or 10 moves ahead in one line while leaving the other lines uncalculated. It is expanding like a sphere, not like an arrow. You know, the human being could calculate like an arrow. You just shoot an arrow in one direction and you calculate till the end. The computer needs to expand like a sphere until he gets till the end of each variation. So that could be an exception. So the human being can just, if you can go to a pawn endgame by force with some clear advantage, the human being would calculate just that, exchange all the pieces and just check maybe that pawn endgame is a winning one. The computer does not do it. It would calculate everything until he gets till the end of every variation there. So, but normally engines are way better in calculating than human beings. So humans can still do good things in the end game if computers are not using table bases. If computers use table bases, I don't think there's anything human can be better than an engine. In calculating, in 99% of cases, 99.9, engines are better. Engines still do not understand closed pawn structures, long pawn chains, like in King's Indian. Maybe in the future I'll prepare some material where the engines do not evaluate and plan those positions well. So there are still some fields where humans can argue with the computers. It's not over yet. So, quick summary. I hope you grabbed all the technical details I showed you. I really want you to doubt the computer in the endgame. It may evaluate it completely wrong. I want you to doubt the computer where there could be any kind of fortress. You should use your own head. And even if the position seems like perfectly calculable, I strongly recommend you to guide the computer rather than blindly listening to it. Like in this case, after bishop h7, queen h5, knight g4, it gives 0.00 to any answer, to any reasonable move for black, but it's actually close to being lost for black. Once you doubt his evaluation, once you ask him more and more questions, why, what if I do this, what if I do that, you can get to an actual result. So computer is only a tool, and you should use it after you are using your own device. That would be it for now. I really hope that that you learned something new today, and hope to see you in the future. Take care.